Good afternoon. This is Mrs. Malik, and today I'm going to walk you through your pre-ACT score report. So juniors, you should have that score report in your hands right now. If you were not here for the pre-ACT test that we took on October 9th, you will not have a score report. And you can just sit back and take a listen to what I'm going to discuss with those who do have a score report. So for your information, the score ranges from 1 to 35. They're shown as a range on your report, and we'll get to that in just a moment. You'll see some colored boxes on the report that show your score range. And so if you take a look at that very first page of your score report, you're going to see something like this, and that red arrow is pointing to what that score range looks like. So that very first page shows you the score range that you see for each one of those tests that you took for the pre-ACT. So the composite score is an average of your English, math, reading, and science scores. The composite score here is identified by that red arrow. It's rounded to a whole number. It shows your overall performance on the test. It's similar to like a GPA. It averages those 4 areas for you. The STEM score, which is indicated here in the kind of the middle of your score report, indicates a readiness for STEM courses in college. It's an average of your math and your science scores. It's compared to the pre-ACT STEM readiness benchmark. Helps to see if you're on track for those STEM fields. Based on your pre-ACT performance, you get a predicted ACT score range. It helps you set goals for improvement. All of the juniors are taking an ACT in April, and so you have some time to take a look at where you are now and where you'd like to end up when we get to April. It indicates areas where you might need some more preparation. It helps you set some goals. So let's take a look at the next part of that score report, where it shows you what your predicted composite and test section ranges are for the ACT. So you'll see the red arrows kind of direct your attention just a little bit there. Your predicted ACT composite score range is whatever it is. And for this sample student, it's a 20 to 23. You see that in a couple of areas. You'll see it right up here, and you'll also see it in blue. And then if you go across, you'll see that there's a predicted score range for each of those tested areas. You might want to consider where it is you're looking to go to college. Does that predicted score range land you in the area that you'd like to be? If not, you might want to take a look at what I can do to improve that score even more. Now, right underneath that predicted score range, you see progress towards the ACT National Career Readiness Certificate. So this is kind of like, how ready am I to go into the world of work? And so this gives an indication for how ready am I to be in a career, sort of those important work skills. And so your ACT test is going to give you kind of a composite score around, am I ready for the world of work? The other thing that I want to point out to you on that page is the composite rankings. So you'll see, as identified by this red arrow here, a percentile ranking. So your report is going to show how you compare to all other students who took this pre-ACT, and it's going to give you a percentile ranking. So it shows percentile ranks. It shows how you compare to other test takers. For example, if it shows the 70th percentile, it means you scored equal to or higher than 70% of students. Helps you understand your performance relative to peers who took the test at the same time you did. The next important piece of your report is the actual item analysis, the breakdown of each one of those subject areas, how many questions you got correct, and maybe the areas that you need a little bit of improvement on. So the next several slides here are going to show those areas on your report, and I'm going to go through kind of what you're looking at there. So you're going to see that it breaks down your performance by subject and topic. So your detailed pre-ACT results is what I want you to be looking at right now. It represents your performance on reporting categories measured by the test. So we've got math, science, English, and reading, and then you'll see under each one of those areas, it's further broken down into different topics. So for example, under math, you're going to see preparing for higher math. This person got 13 out of 21 correct. And those 21 problems are broken down into these 5 areas. And so she got 3 out of 3 on numbers and quantity. Then it's going to also give you a nice bar graph to show you sort of the percent correct. So you can take a look at each one of the tested areas, math, English, science, and reading, and see where your strengths lie and where your areas for opportunity and improvement might be. Okay, so identify those areas where you're pretty good at and identify those areas that you might need to work on a little bit more now and between now and April. And this will give you a good indication of where you should sort of focus those, strengths as we get towards that test in April. The next thing I want you to take a look at, we're going to go back to that first page and take a look at the readiness benchmarks. So one of the reasons why we test in the fall is to see, how far from that readiness benchmark are we? So ACT, SAT, these standardized tests, they have benchmarks associated with how ready they think you are to enter into college and be successful in different core courses. And so it indicates if you're on target for college readiness and success. And on that very first page of your score report, it's going to show in those gray lines. And so this person, Ann C. Taylor, she's a fake kid, not real. I've indicated with a couple of arrows here where those benchmarks are. And so you can see Anne kind of scored right at that benchmark, that readiness benchmark for math. And so the gray line with the 19 in the gray bubble is kind of skewed by that her blue band. But you can see science, the readiness benchmark is a 20. She scored a 17. So she's a little bit below the readiness benchmark for science. She scored a 20. The readiness benchmark for STEM is a 23. She scored an 18 in STEM, right? Do you see what's happening here? The readiness benchmark for English is a 14. She scored a 19. So she's above the readiness benchmark there. So you need to take a look at where am I? What did I score? And your scores, again, are up at the top. And what is the benchmark? What's the readiness benchmark for that particular area? And how far am I from that benchmark? And if you're right on line with it, fantastic. If you're not as close as you'd like to be, that indicates an area that you probably need to take a look at and work towards getting better. So compare your scores to the benchmark, identify areas where you're below the benchmark, maybe talk to teachers in those core areas that can give you some ideas for what you need to work on, and make sure that you're taking the right classes to get you there. So between now and the test, like what should I do between now and April? Well, one of the big things that you can do is you can take a look at the rest of this score report and see what actual test items were, what did I answer, and what were the actual answers. A really great way to study and to learn is to review what did I say as compared to what did the test say. So the next part of your score report is the item response analysis. And so take a look at the rest of what your score report says, and you're going to see it gives you all of the correct answers, all of your responses. It gives you ideas for progress. And so you're going to see one for math, you're going to see one for science, you're going to see one for English, and you're going to see one for reading. You might be thinking, this is super helpful, but I don't have the test. Well, I have attached to this presentation a copy of the test. So you took a digital test, but they sent me a hard copy of it so that you can download that and take a look at each one of those particular sections. And, start taking a look at, how is it did I perform and what do I need to work on? So review your scores and the benchmark comparisons. Identify areas where you're below the benchmarks. Set specific goals for improvement. It helps if you set a timeline for achieving those goals. How can you break down your goals into manageable steps? So, how much time do we have between now and when we take the test in April? And how much can I accomplish between now and then in improving and getting to where I want to be? ACT has some free resources, and so on this slide, and again, we're going to share this presentation with you as a presentation, not as a video. ACT has some free prep for you, and so there are a couple of links right here, so you can review those sample tests that they give you. There's some ACT test taking strategies. There's tons of online tutorials and videos that you can take a look at on YouTube. Again, time management, practice eliminating incorrect answers. Really, all of those are really good test-taking strategies that help you do better when you're kind of nervous and under pressure to do well on a test. Use these predicted ACT scores to set targets and, again, create that timeline for preparation. And, again, we're taking that test in April. Talk about it with your counselors, with your parents. You know, where do I want to go to school? What is it that I want to do, and kind of what goals do I need to set in order to get to that place? And as I said, that pre-ACT exam booklet is going to be linked for you here in the presentation. I'm also going to have a copy of that placed into the class of 2026 Google Classroom so that you can take a look at it and see how your answers compared to the actual answers of the test. If you have any questions or you want to talk to me about any of this presentation, please don't hesitate to reach out to me.